Earlier this month, Games Workshop published a big review of The Year of Chaos, where they covered all of the reveals and releases that they've produced for like one major faction across all of their games. And boy, was there a lot of entries. And this has made me realize that there has been a lot of Warhammer lately. Seriously, a lot. And there's even more coming. There's gonna be an entire new edition of Horus Heresy soon, and then likely a brand new edition of Warhammer 40k just next year. And okay, I'm gonna sound a little bit insane here, but hear me out. More Warhammer is cool, but Warhammer is also pretty relentless. And because of the constant Warhammer news, it's tough for people like me, YouTubers, content creators, to cover other games. And it's tough for other companies to get their name out there and try to break through the noise of the Games Workshop marketing department. Hell, most people don't even know that there's any other games outside of Warhammer. That's why wargaming often gets referred to as the Warhammer Hobby. And that's a huge danger to the wider wargame market. It's a huge danger to us, to players within that market. It's a big danger to our hobby of building, painting miniatures, and playing awesome tabletop games. So in a lot of ways, it's hard not to think of Games Workshop as having simply declared war on the entire wargame hobby. Which is why I got this. I've made a huge mistake. I think I've finally gone too far. Because last week I went to UKGE, the biggest UK gaming convention, and also the third biggest gaming convention in the entire world. And at that convention, there was a ton of new and upcoming war games to see, many of them ready to compete with Warhammer 40k and Games Workshop. And a lot of them were extremely weird. This was definitely the weirdest convention I've ever been to, at least when it came to the games. A lot of them were pretty unbelievable. There's been a lot of innovation in wargaming in like the last couple of months, and let me show you what I mean. Just gonna go inside the box. So, this is Maladdiction. This is a pretty crazy game. It's kind of like the holy grail of wargaming. Essentially, this is Magic the Gathering meets Warhammer. At least that's how they like to bill it over at Loot Studios, who came out with this thing. Inside this box are not miniatures. Instead, there are cards. And coming with these cards are a whole bunch of these. Alright, not that exciting, right? We're mini wargamers. Well, the game also comes with special codes that allow you to download the miniatures for the game, proper STL files of the full 3D miniatures. So this game is a miniature war game. You just have to like be able to download and print your own minis, which not everybody can do, which is why they sell the standees. So both players have a deck of cards and they use these cards to summon minions onto a board. So it's played like a normal miniatures game. You're gonna move your miniatures around the board. They're gonna fight other miniatures. You're trying to grab like special items. And you've also got these hero characters and they're super powerful. It's really fast paced. It only takes like 20 to 40 minutes to play a game. They do not take very long at all. Some of the cards summon minions, some of the cards summon spells. So you get this really nice mix between card game and war game. It's genuinely the best blend of those two genres that I have ever seen. I don't say that lightly. This is one of those games I think that almost everybody has had the idea of, mixing card games and war games, but actually executing on that idea is really hard, and I think that Loot Studios have managed to do so. But Maladdiction wasn't alone in being one of the new weird war games out there, because there was another too. Blitzkrieg is a new war game that is kind of insane. It's wild, actually. Rather than using miniatures instead, it uses, not Lego. Yeah, use these little bricks and you build them as if you were building any building brick material. This looks like a ton of fun. This looks like a game that I think adults and kids could play together very easily. The gameplay itself looked very simple. I didn't get a chance to actually play the game, but man, the miniatures themselves, if you can call them that, look fantastic. And they look like they're a lot of fun to build as well. You don't need clippers, you don't need glue. Kind of get past a lot of the major problems that war games have always had. You know, the Christmas morning issue. You come down, see what Santa's left you, and what is it? It's a bunch of miniatures, and you can't build or paint them. You need to like go out and buy some new stuff. With Blitzkrieg, you can get the building right away. And it's actually part of the fun. I know that there's a bunch of new stuff coming out for it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with that, because I'm going to be covering this game. I think it could be really, really big. One of the really cool elements of Blitzkrieg, though, is that they've managed to use the building bricks in really innovative ways, too. So, for example, there is a bunch of terrain that you can buy for this game, but importantly, they are destructible, so you can blow them up. And whenever you blow them up, how do you represent that? By removing portions of the actual building. There's just a real tactile joy of play, a real spectacle to this game in a way that I've never really seen before. This is one to watch. Another massive stand at the convention this year was War Cradle. They are a massive force to be reckoned with there. And this year they were showing off Armored Clash, their 10mm war game. Armored Clash currently is one of my favorite games at the minute. I've been playing it a bunch. I've been really enjoying it. It's a very interesting steampunk alternative history 19th century setting, and there are a ton of different factions, all of them looking and feeling very, very different. And the gameplay itself is courtesy of James Hewitt, who is really famous for games like Necromunda, Fallout Factions. I think he had a hand in Hero Quest as well, and you can really tell that there is a veteran designer behind the game. It's very tight, and the sculpts of the miniatures, they look fantastic. I currently am collecting and building and painting a Union Army for the US of A, trying to fulfill that country's manifest destiny, sir. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for Armored Clash. But of course, it wasn't all weird. Because I also got this. Yes, I know I'm very late to the party, but man, I had to check it out. So this is Dead Man's Hand, and it is huge. Not only in terms of the box size, but also in terms of its legend. I know so many people who have recommended Dead Man's Hand to me, especially for big multiplayer mass club games, and I've just never played it. I've never gotten a chance to play it until last weekend. And guess what? It was a ton of fun. Now, it is a more traditional war game, but it's a kind of smaller scale skirmish cowboy game. And I picked up the starter set because it comes with everything that you need to get started in the game. It comes with a bunch of hard plastic miniatures, but it also comes with a bunch of hard plastic terrain too. And these are super affordable. I think this box was only around £90, and it comes with little tiny playing cards. They're so small and wee. So everything you need to get started is in here, but not for me. This wasn't enough, because I also got this. This is the reason why I bought the giant box. There's rules in here for skeleton cowboys. They're cowboys that are just bones. Now, how spooky is that? You can play supernaturally dastardly devils like Dracula, the Baron, evil skeleton gang, the US cavalry, and the worst of all, the Pinkertons. Yeah, I kind of went all in on Dead Man's Hand, but I had to after playing a demo game. Super fast paced, really easy to play. You just zoom around the map, shooting at one another. You roll a d20, you see what happens. Just real good, clean, wholesome family fun. Seems like a ton of fun. I can't wait to really get into this one. But wait a second, Discourse. If you went all in on Dead Man's Hand for the skeletons, where are all your skeleton cowboys? Right here. Oh, I really shouldn't have done that. Okay, so I know this looks like a mess, but believe me, there's a lot of skeleton cowboys here. So I bought a bunch of the cowboys from Black Scorpion Miniatures, mostly because they look amazing, but also, I mean, skeleton cowboys. I need a lot of skeleton cowboys. And I spent very unwisely. I think I bought way too much. I bought a bunch of these skeletons. I also bought some of the Old West terrors as well. Just some of those look like supernatural monsters, and they look really, really cool. Very excited for these. Can't wait to get these all painted up and used in Dead Man's Hand. Though Dead Man's Hand does have its own full hard plastic range, which are great and very customizable as well. And it's funny, I went to Black Scorpion Miniatures on the very first day of UKGE because they always sell out because they're super popular there. I picked up all these skeleton cowboys. Then I went back. For more skeletons. I really shouldn't do that. That's right. I got more skeletons here, baby. But these miniatures are not cowboys, they are pirates, because this summer is the Summer of Plunder, a wild and wicked narrative campaign that I am currently taking part in, and you can take part in too with your miniatures. All you need are some pirate miniatures, or hell, you can just proxy some, and then you can go to battle against your mates or even play with yourself in solo mode and take part in the Summer of Plunder. And if you don't know the Summer of Plunder, it's a global campaign running from June through to August 4th where you pick a faction that you want to fight for and then play games of Blood and Plunder, Port Royal, or Oak and Iron, all from Firelock Games, and help your team conquer the Spanish Main. Each one of your victories or losses will have a huge impact on the shared story that everyone is taking part in. It's really, really cool. Not to mention that every single game that you play puts you in the running for tons of free stuff. There are all sorts of awards and prizes being given away. I've been taking part this year and it has been a ton of fun. You join the Discord and you get to strategize with the other captains, in my case, pirate captains. I've also been organizing some pirate drinks, love me some grog, and it's just a joy to coordinate battles with your fellow pirates to all attack the same map locations, guaranteeing that one day everyone will be free to live under the black flag. Life, liberty, and grog. Them's me motto. And you can join us too, whether you're new to Firelock's games or an old hand at them, whether you are playing with friends or alone, or whether you can play a bunch of games or only get a single game in all summer. And if you do need to get some pirates, you can follow the link below to Firelock Games store, where there's a 15% off discount code just for viewers of this channel. You don't want to miss this, so check it out at the link below, join the Discord and see the rundown on the Summer of Plunder, and thanks to Firelock Games for sponsoring today's video. But they weren't the only pirates I bought. I also picked up a ton of bad Squiddo Games minis as well, because how could I not? They rock. Yeah, I got a bunch of pirate ladies to take part in the Summer of Plunder. I just need more miniatures to add into my games. One of them is a snake lady. Just, you know, just accept that. Accept that one of my pirates are a snake lady. I also got to see the Trench Crusade stand at UKGE. There wasn't a lot of miniatures to show there, but I did get to meet Thomas Perinin, which was amazing. It was really awesome to meet him. I've been following the Trench Crusade project for a while now, so that was really, really exciting. It was really awesome to finally get a chance to chat with him in person, in the flesh. He's even kind enough to sign a poster for me too, depicting the Irish faction, which I think are getting a lot of love soon enough. And also I got to ask him about the future of Trench Crusade, because obviously I think this is going to be one of the biggest war games going forward. I think this game could genuinely rival Warhammer in the future, given enough time. And I was asking, like, how's he keeping up with demand? Because obviously loads of people are super excited for this game, and right now it's just coming out of Kickstarter. Everything is 3D printable, and he heavily implied that Trench Crusade is going to be going to hard plastic miniatures. I couldn't get him to say it outright, but he really heavily implied. And if that happens, hold on to your hats, people, because that is extremely exciting. Hard plastic miniatures for Trench Crusade, it could skyrocket in popularity. I'm really excited for that possibility, so, you know, let's follow that one. Oh no, avert your gaze, it's Cthulhu! He actually looks really cool on the green screen, huh? And he's not alone, I guess. I picked up a whole bunch of Call of Cthulhu books. I know they're not miniatures, but bear with me here. So these were review copies from Chaosium for my RPG channel, Dungeons and Discourse. Check it out. And they look really, really cool. I'm a big fan of Call of Cthulhu. It's possibly my favorite, if not one of my favorite TTRPGs. And this is really interesting. This is Twin Suns Rising. It's the brand new Call of Cthulhu supplement that's come out, set in 1980s Japan. Makes a ton of sense. Call of Cthulhu is actually the most popular role-playing game inside Japan. They play dungeon games in Call of Cthulhu. One of the reasons I'm really excited for this supplement is, firstly, there are 3 really interesting sounding scenarios, but also they are all to do about the Yellow King. So it's all about Carcosa, the King in Yellow, and Hastur. Popularized, of course, by True Detective Season 1, but the Yellow King has always been one of my favorite Lovecraft-adjacent weird fiction kind of storylines and characters. And as always, with anything from Chaosium and Call of Cthulhu, it just looks beautiful. For those who don't know, Call of Cthulhu, it's a horror RPG investigation game where you're trying to uncover some sort of mystery and figure out what's going on, and then potentially maybe stop it, but more than likely just go nuts. It's kind of how I feel when covering the Wargame hobby. Oh, I love the art in here. So there's a lot of like traditional style Japanese art for some of the monsters, which is really cool. And of course, because of the genre, there's gotta be tentacle monsters. The genre, of course, being Japan. They also give me No Time to Scream as well, which is like a really, really short group of scenarios that are designed to be played within an hour or two, so you can just do this in an evening. You get to have bite-sized horror games, which is really cool. There's also Pendragon, the starter set as well. If you want to play King Arthur, this is the game. Now, the next one isn't going to look super impressive, but I'm almost certain that you're going to be hearing a lot about this game in the next few months. This is Conflict 47. I only got like one little miniature to kind of show off, but Conflict 47 is going to be coming out soon. It's from Warlord Games, the guys behind Bolt Action. This is the 3rd edition Conflict 47. I'm a big fan of Conflict 47. It's essentially a alternative history war game set just after World War II, where the war never ended and everybody's got super technology and they're all fighting, and there's this big massive disaster that happened and people are getting future technology, and there's all sorts of weird and wacky and wonderful things. It's probably my favorite war game, at least one of my favorite war games. It's hard to choose sometimes. And at UKGE, Warlord Games had a huge stand. They were showing off a lot about Conflict 47. I actually got to play a demo game of it. It plays very similarly to Bolt Action in that, you know, you're still drawing activation dice from the activation bag, but now there's also these new dice called Rift dice. These are special dice that whenever you use your super special technology units, you can spend those Rift dice to get special stuff. So for example, I was commanding some US Fireflies. These are basically US Marines, but with jetpacks, and they could move really far and open fire on people with their special Thompson X guns. But then I could do another move, which is usually totally not possible to do in Bolt Action, by spending my Rift die. I really like the new units. I really love the new sculpts of the game. There's a lot of more hard plastic miniatures. Conflict 47 used to be pretty pricey because a lot of the like mechs and the big stompy robots, they were all made out of metal or resin. Now they're moving a bunch of those over to hard plastic, so that should get the price down to regular Bolt Action prices. I just love the design of a lot of these new minis. The new little spider mech from the Germans looks really interesting. I love its silhouette. The new German like power armored, let's call them Space Marines. The US Firefly infantry were really fun to play with. Yeah, I'm excited for Conflict 47. That will be coming out later this year, and I'm definitely going to be covering it on the channel too. But wait a second, I said the UKGE was filled with weird games. Well, here's another one. Here is something that I'd never seen before. This is From Ashes, a miniature war game by Void Scar Miniatures. So they caught my attention. It was a really small stand. They're a bit of an indie designer, but I picked up their skirmish set. This is actually a review copy given to me, so thanks to Void Scar for that. But I had to have these because of this. Look, this is an entire battalion of infantry. Look how teeny tiny my men are. These are a really weird scale, a scale I've never actually seen be utilized before, 18 millimeters. So they're not the tiny scale, but they're also not 28 millimeter or Warhammer scale. They are like right in the middle. It was really weird. The size of them is kind of perfect. You can get massive battles on a smaller table and still have tons of miniatures out on that board, but they're also just big enough to be pretty well detailed to have individual characters stand out on the board as well. Plus, the vehicles are like perfect sized. They look so good on the table. So I did play a demo game of From Ashes. It's a D12 based system, which is really interesting, and it's a little bit granular. It has a little bit of that older school vibe to it. For example, I was commanding some militia, because if I ever get the opportunity to command a ragtag bunch of militia, I'm taking it, and they were armed with a mixture of assault rifles and rockets, and they fired both weapons. It wasn't all combined into one abstract unit profile, so that means that you could fire your rockets at some tanks and fire your machine guns at some infantry. But the really interesting mechanic is these blast tokens. Whenever you fire like artillery or anything, you basically put down these blast tokens on the board and they remain there. So the board becomes filled up with these blast markers that you're trying to avoid. Whenever people will act around your models. They get to take reactions, and that includes firing back at you. So you're basically trying to suppress them first before you open fire. You're trying to trick reactions out of them, like forcing them to move away from blast tokens, so then you can just like charge into them in melee. I think this is a game that is one to watch. The factions all seem really interesting. There's a ton of lore behind a bunch of them. Plus, if you don't have a lot of space at home, this might be the game for you. I also picked up Bloodfields. This is from Titan Forge Miniatures. They're a 3D print miniature service. I got this as a review copy when I went to buy it, actually. So I was gonna pay money for this, but I got it for free. The fools. So this game basically got me because it's just Warcraft in a miniature format. Like, you look at the style of these miniatures and they've got that classic Blizzard cartoony style. It really grabbed my attention. I got to play the new version of this game, so I think this starter set is actually the second edition of Bloodfields, but the third edition is what I played at UKGE, and that is coming out soon. And I know that all the miniatures that are currently available for this game are going to also be playable in third edition, so I figured, what the hell, I'll just pick this up. There's nothing like particularly mind-blowing about the game. It was pretty traditional, small scale skirmish, warbands fighting one another. Where it got really interesting was there was bespoke dice, but they were worked into the game really effectively. Each of the characters all have their own little card that they all have special abilities on. There's this inspiration mechanic where you're kind of trying to spend your inspiration strategically to make sure that you get the right abilities off at the right time, but also you can use inspiration to increase and improve your dice rolls. So you've got this really interesting gameplay of trying to decide when you're going to spend your resources and when you won't, and your opponent's trying to do the same thing. I definitely recommend it. It's one of those games where if you don't know what a war game is or you're intimidated by it at all, I recommend a game like Bloodfields. It's very straightforward, nothing too crazy. This was one of the not weird ones. Huge collection of miniatures, a lot of them 3D printable, and the starter set seems like really good value. I will probably be playing the human faction because there's already too many rumors that I'm a furry, and I have to dissuade them somehow. No, stop putting that art up. That wasn't found on my computer. Don't listen to what Glenn says. Have you heard about Halo? Because everybody's talking about it. Yeah, this is like a big game this year. This game is so big, I can't get it all in the one shot. This is from Mantic Games. They kindly provided me a review copy. I've never played this game before, but I did get to play a demo game at UKGE. To give you a little bit of context, I have not played Halo before, really. I mean, the video game. I was a PlayStation kid. I was playing Time Splitters 2, okay? But everybody was so excited by this game, I just knew I had to try it. And I was really impressed. So Mantic have done a really clever thing here. They have not based the war game on like the lore of Halo. Instead, they've based it on the video game of Halo. And what that means is that the war game uses the rules and the objectives and goals of Halo multiplayer. This is like being back in a lobby in the mid-2000s, but, you know, on a table and with little tiny miniatures. So the game is super fast-paced. It uses the same cube system as Dead Zone, so you can move around the board super fast. You don't need a measuring tape or a ruler or anything. Characters will have a movement ability, and that denotes how many cubes they can move, and then you can just end your turn anywhere in that cube. So you can take cover or try to break line of sight if you're in that cube. The game uses the dice system, and interestingly, every single character in the game, they have 3 different health bars, which I thought was really curious. First, when you attack somebody, you gotta break through their shields, and their shields regenerate each turn. Then once you get through that, you then have to break through their armor, which does not regenerate. It just is a static number. And then once you get through their armor, you start hitting the fleshy goo underneath and doing the real type of damage. And weapons, they spawn on the map, so you can run around, try and pick them up. I picked up this really awesome power blade that just completely shredded through armor and shields and got straight to the flesh underneath it in melee, and it was incredible. I murdered the heck out of another person's Halo man. I think that's the technical term for them. They're Halo man, right? But appropriately enough, because this is based on the video game, once I killed a guy, he respawned. This game has respawns, so it is totally video gamey, but in the best way. And the really nice thing about this collection is you could buy this box and just be ready to play it as soon as you get home. I think this is going to be a great game for getting people into wargaming generally. I'm really excited for Halo because I think it's an awesome entry point, especially because I think a lot of board gamers, a lot of people who are into the Halo video games are going to pick this up, and then they're going to discover that they really enjoy analog gaming, and they really enjoy the kind of wargaming, dice rolling element of our hobby. I know there's already a massive burgeoning community of Halo competitive players out there, so if you're interested in a fast-paced competitive war game, I think Halo might be the game to play this year. So yeah, there's a whole lot to be excited for this year. It's not all just Warhammer. There are a whole ton of new and weird and wonderful games all coming out, and I am so excited. I am so hyped. Many of these can be picked up right now, but a bunch of them are still to come out, and I will be following those, so subscribe. I'm gonna be streaming a lot more, so you should check that out. Honestly, I had way too much to say during this video, and in fact, I had to cut a whole ton of stuff out. So if you aren't seeing enough to want to hear me talk about more games and get a longer version of this, you can check out my Patreon linked below. And a massive thanks to my patrons, especially CryptoKev, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye-bye!